You kind of gotta love the video, right? Hi, I'm Tanya Janca, and I'm hoping to. There are my slides. Awesome. I'm going to turn those on now. And I'm going to give you all a talk about, well, how to build security champions. So basically, we're going to talk about what are security champions. We're going to talk about how to build them. And we're going to talk about scaling your team. So when I say scaling, I don't mean when you catch a fish and you're out fishing and then you do that thing where you take their scales off. And quite frankly, I think all of that's gross. We're going to talk about scaling your security program. We're going to talk about scaling your security team so you can do way more with the same amount of people and budget. And we're also going to talk about what the heck are security champions and how we can find the right people in our organization to fulfill that role, and then how we can build them up to be champions as opposed to just regular employees with a regular amount of respect for security. We want them to champion our cause and basically help us make an entire program way better. So I have a recipe we're going to follow. So we're going to go throughout this the entire time I'm talking. So we're going to try to recruit people. We're going to engage those people. We're going to teach them, recognize and reward them, which are different, but both important. And then we're going to make sure that we don't stop and that we're consistent. So who the heck am I? So I'm Tanya Janca, and I'm the CEO and founder of We Hack Purple. I'm also known as She Hacks Purple on the internet. And yes, some of my hair is violet. I'm the author of Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. I think next year I have to change this to 25 years. I think I'm past 24. I'm on my 25th. I started my first job in 1997 when I was just 18 years old. And I was a dev a long time, then I switched to SEC. I'm one of the founders of WOSEC, Women of Security International. I love OWASP, I just love them. I'm a blogger, a podcaster, a streamer, a builder, a breaker. I run the We Hack Purple community, and basically I'm a giant nerd on the internet. And we speakers do these about us slides, not because we're like, I really need you to know all about me. And I need you to look at a great big picture of me. It's actually because we're trying to convince you this talk is worth sitting through and I'm qualified to give it. And so you have been through 2 days of ridiculously awesome talks. You have been giving your attention to BSides Calgary for this whole time. And so I'm the last one. I have the hardest sell of everyone at the conference. And so I'm hoping you're like, she seems all right. Let's do this. Also, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to BSides Calgary because I think they've done an awesome job. And if you haven't yet, please send them a little thank you in the chat so they know that you appreciate all their hard work, because there's probably the one person that you've seen announcing people, but there's a whole team of people working their butt off for months and months and months to make this activity awesome. And I got my care package in the mail, and I have to say it was awesome. I have the hat right back there, and I have not eaten all the treats yet. Yet's the operative word. Okay, but let's go back to the matter at hand. So what's the problem, Tanya? Why do you want to do this? Why are you giving this talk? There are not enough security professionals to do all the jobs. There is not enough, especially application security professionals, to support all the software developers at every org in making sure they reliably release secure software. And so it's difficult to hire them. It's difficult to keep them. They cost a lot of money. And so we want to scale our program in other ways, not just by hiring more professionals. We want to find other ways to do it. And so you can scale your team. So we know there's not enough AppSec professionals to go around. We know we need to scale. You could do automation. You could do outsourcing. There's a lot of different options, but the one I want to talk about is security champions. So I'm going to give you a super formal definition from Wikipedia. A security champion is a member of a team that takes on the responsibility of acting as the primary advocate for security within that team and acting as the first line of defense for security issues within the team. So that's from Wikipedia. And although I do agree that's technically correct, what I would say is they're interested. They're passionate. They are the person that's more excited about security than everyone else. They want to read the book, fix the bug, ask the questions. They show up at every security thing that's open to them. They ask questions afterwards. They come talk to you for what seems like no reason. That is the person, that's the one you want. All the people who act like that, gather them up because they're awesome. Okay, so what does a security champion, like, what's their responsibility? What do they do? Like so like a definition's different than like what they do and why you need them. So a security champion is your communicator. They deliver security messages to each dev team. They teach, they share, and they help. So they bring your message back to their team and kind of take on that role and some of the responsibility of getting stuff done. They also are your point of contact. And so they will deliver security messages back to you. Like, oh, so my team actually needs some help with this. Oh, we're about to get to that stage in the project, which means we're supposed to do this security step. Could you help us arrange that? Oh, someone thinks they can write their own cryptography. And I thought you might want to know. Yes, I want to know that. And that happens way more often than you think. They're also your advocate. So this person, they perform security work for the dev team, for you, but they also advocate for security. So they are a peer, a person that is on the team who's saying security is important, or, the security team said we should do this, or that's breaking policy. Should we do that? Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. We shouldn't. So that person is advocating on behalf of what you need doing at that organization in a positive way. And that is awesome. So how about we build some security champions together? Let's talk about what we can do. So I have this recipe: recruit, engage, teach, recognize, reward, don't stop. And so I know that sounds really simple. It's like, oh yeah, that's my talk. I'm done. I'm going to leave now. No. Could you imagine? They're like, that is the worst. So I am thinking that we will go through this recipe and break it down for the whole time. We're just going to come back and we're going to do these one at a time. And I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas for each one. And the reason I'm doing this is, quite frankly, I would love it if some of you did this at your organization. And by do this, I mean, if you're on the AppSec team or on the information security team and you realize, our security culture is not really super awesome where we work. Like, what can we do about it? This is one thing you could do to help change the culture of your whole org. Those people proliferate your awesome message. They federate it, depending upon how nerdy you want to be. And so it's just, I hope that some of you consider starting a program. I also hope that a whole lot of you consider being a part of one of these programs. Like, you right there, you could be a champion. But for real, seriously, we need people like you. So let's talk about recruiting champions. Yeah. So the first rule of recruiting is never, ever, ever volunteer someone to be a security champion. I don't know about you, but when people tell me to do things, it rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it. If you tell every team, well, you have to have a security champion, so you better appoint someone. I don't want someone that's late to a meeting as their punishment. They have to be a security champion, or, you're the crappiest dev on this team, so you're going to be this. No, those aren't the ones I want. I want a person who's interested. Even if that person is the most junior person on the team, if they're passionate about it, that's the right person. That person will get you more results, even if they have less experience and technical knowledge. So I want us to attract the right people instead. And the second really important rule that you need to remember, of all these things we're doing, these two are probably the most important things. Number 2 is managers need to be on board. I have heard of, first of all, security champion programs where they want 20 hours a week. So you're never going to get that. No. But if managers are gawking or balking at the idea of giving you 1 hour a week or even 2 hours a month of their champion's time, well, then like life's going to be bad. I don't know what else to tell you. If the managers are saying like, no, you don't have time for that crap, I've got real work for you, that's not part of your job, stop doing it, like your program's over, right? And so get management on board. Like if you could do a top-down approach where you've asked permission, people are cool with it, maybe they're like, fine, you can do that, and they're not particularly interested, but at least they're not going to block you. And then recruit people, attract them, people that are interested, and you will get much better results than either trying to force your way through without management support, or, well, forcing people to do extra responsibilities on top of their regular job for no extra pay. Doesn't sound that attractive. So let's talk about how we can recruit people successfully, because that's what we want. So recruiting. Like I said, we ask for volunteers instead of appointing people without consent. Consent is cool. Provide opportunities for them to reveal themselves. So I'm doing public speaking literally this exact moment. So you're probably thinking, oh, she's really good at doing that. I'm not, so I can't do that. No, this is how I started my first Security Champions program. I didn't even know what that was. I realized there was one of me, and I think we had 150 devs. And so way more of them, way less of me. And so I started showing them how to use a security tool and scan their stuff. And so I just held a lunch and learn. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never presented before, and I'd been on the dev team. Then I moved to the security team. So these were my peers. So I really liked these people. And so I was really nervous to mess up in front of them. And like a lot of them were, quite frankly, like my friends, people I really, really liked. But that made me even more nervous because I care what they think so much. But it still worked out, and I was clumsy and imperfect. And I asked them to help, and they did. And before I knew it, I had one person on each team, and they would always run that tool and fix the things. And like, oh, it was such a huge success. And I didn't even know what I was doing. And so you can definitely do this. And so having a lunch and learn to reveal themselves. I know this might sound so silly, but adding to your email signature, I'm looking for security champions. Is that you? Ask me. And I know someone that did that, and he found 2 champions that way. 4 people emailed him about it over the course of 3 months, just 4. He only needed like 20 champions though. And then 2 of them, when he told them about it, they're like, yeah, I want to do that. That's really cool. Thanks. So lunch and learns, trainings, like you don't have to give the training or lunch and learn if you're terrified, someone else can. Anyone who asks questions or attends all the events, get some books, send some emails. You can make a newsletter list. And I know that might sound really silly, like a newsletter, Tanya, but yeah, it really works. Like if the security team has a newsletter and they send it out once a month, and it's like, here's updates from the security team. And that's it. And at the bottom, would you like to become a security champion? Just ask us how. We're dying to meet you. And also use super interesting titles if you can. I used to have really crappy titles for things. And people wouldn't show up. And so someone politely informed me, you have the most boring titles of all time for your talks. So I started livening them up a bit. Also, another thing that I find really helps people be more open and more warm and interested is if you can have a really good mantra for your team. So for instance, when I first joined security, a lot of it was, you better do these things or you can't get to prod. And that wasn't so great. So then I changed it to, it's my job to help you get to prod securely. And so like, I need these things. How can I help you achieve them? So we both win and you get to prod. So you get your goal of releasing your code, but I get my goal of the code you release does not scare the pants off me. And when I changed it, it's my job to serve you. I have this friend named Ray who has this really cool blog called Hella Secure. And he says his devs are his customers. And I love that idea. And he's like, I work for you. And they're like, no, you don't. He's like, I really do. I really do. I work all day long for you and your teams. That's what I do. And when you have that opinion and that way of thinking, it is expressed with every sentence you say. And it definitely is a breath of fresh air, let me tell you. Okay, so let's talk about how to engage your champions. So I'm going to explain what engage means. So this is off the dictionary.com. I should just add it. So to engage someone is to occupy, attract, or involve. Well, I want to do that with security activities. But it also is the other way around. So participate or become involved with. I want to participate in them. So I want to meet with my champ once a month and say, hey, what are you working on? Do you need help? Do you have any questions? Like, how can I support you and your team in doing whatever you're doing securely? And when you do that, oh, well, that's a really good start. But let's talk about more about what you can do. So if there's a security incident with their app, bring them in on it. They know way more than you about the inner workings of that app. And then you know security and incident response, and together you could do a better job. Share appropriate secrets. I worked somewhere once and we deputized a dev team and we got them to put their right hand up and promise not to tell. And then we shared a bunch of information with them about a really bad incident we'd had. And we're like, you're the only team that's not on board, that keeps like pushing back against every single thing. And like, this is a thing that happened last week. And it was with one of your apps. And it's because you wouldn't let me do security testing. Like, I could have found this. We could have stopped it. We can't do this without you. And sharing that secret information and the ridiculous damage that it caused was hard on my ego. Honestly, I didn't like it, but it worked and it got them on board. Let your champion see literally everything first. If there's a new tool, you tell them. If you're going to do a new policy, you consult them. Whatever the thing is, you always treat them special because they are special. Create a mailing list for your security champions. Like if you work somewhere and there are 8 dev teams, it's just an email with 8 people. And you're like, hey, y'all, this month we're doing this and that's happening. And if you need me, I'm still here being a nerd over on the 4th floor, or whatever it is that you would write. I suggest meeting with them once a month and have a set of questions. You need to brace yourself for bad news so you can play it cool. So I really suck at hiding my feelings. And so I had to learn to not freak out when they would tell me bad security things that were happening in our organization that I was unaware of. So I would build trust with them. They'd get to know me. And then they would be like, so there's this thing I saw, and it would be awful. It would be like, oh my God. And at first I'd be like, oh my God. But then they would regret telling me. So I learned to be like, oh, that doesn't sound very good. Mind if I show up and like maybe we could work on it or fix it or like find like a better way to do that thing you're trying to do? And they're like, yeah, cool. I'm big on team building events or having open office hours. I have bribed many a dev with cookies, let me tell you. And also invite them to join any online security communities or in-person security communities. So there's the We Hack Purple community, which is totally free for everyone. But there's OWASP, who, I mean, I am the president of their fan club. If there was one, I would be it. But I used to invite all my devs to go to OWASP meetings with me, and some of them would say yes. And we would walk from the office over to the meeting, hang out, sit together, learn together, eat pizza together, whatever it is. But it made them more interested and engaged them more. Okay, so teaching. So we need to teach our champs. And I have to say that this is one place. So the number one place where companies go wrong is they start a huge program and then after 3 months, they just lose steam. And then the number 2 is like not getting management approval and or volunteering people to do stuff. And then you get crappy results. But the number 3 thing, so I just see these 3 things a lot, the rest is fine, is that they teach them tons of crap that they do not need to know. So much stuff they do not need to know. Like, let's teach them all how to be hackers and get them to take the OSCP. I'm like, why? That's a huge amount of work. Why would you make them do that? Is it their job to do network security testing? No. It's their job to write secure code. It's like, that's so off topic. Like, don't get me wrong. If you want to be a network penetration tester, like that's awesome, go pursue that. But we want the devs to write secure code, and we want them to fix bugs we find and like let us do our jobs. We don't. Anyway, so I see a lot of company, or oh my gosh, teaching them the history of encryption. Like, this is what Diffie-Hellman, he started this, or they did, and blah, blah, blah. And here's the difference between symmetric and it. They don't care unless they're building an encryption app. Why are you teaching them that crap? So it's really important to teach them what you need, expect, and want from them as champions. So here's a bunch of topics of what I would suggest for you, besides defining exactly what you want from them. So first of all, so these are 3 sections, and then I'm going to give you more stuff for each section, because like, if you don't teach your champions, your whole program is garbage, right? Like, you can't just be like, you're a champion, and then that's it, and you just walk away and you don't teach them what to do. So secure coding and secure architecture, your policies that apply to them in doing their job, and then cool tools. So first one, secure coding and architecture. So formal training on secure coding, preferably with labs. I'm a huge fan of threat modeling and security architecture. So you could do this as one thing. You can call it whatever you want, but it's a session where you review the risks and stuff that's happening with the architecture. I like draw stuff out and I ask pertinent questions, and eventually that dev knows how to ask the questions too. And eventually they can threat model, and it's awesome. How to review code for security issues, how to fix bugs they find, and it is absolutely essential that you repeat this once a year, because things change and people forget. And I don't know about you, but if you want them to be threat modeling all the time, if you don't give them training, it'll start getting different and weirder over time. Same with any of these things. Like, if there's a thing you're expecting them to do, you need to train them how to do it. Topics for champions. So your policies. So which policy standards and or guidelines apply to them? Literally teach it to them. Just telling them, oh, there's a bunch of policies here, you should just read it. They're not going to. I know, because I was a dev and I didn't do that. Help them create missing guidelines. So let's say you have lots of stuff on how to make secure web apps, lots of stuff on how to make secure APIs, but they're, starting to build serverless apps, and you've given them no guidance. Well, guess what you're going to get? A surprise, and it might not be a good one. So instead, oh yeah, we're going to start building a thing in serverless. Great. I'm going to give you some best practices I'd like you to follow as a bare minimum. So then you can steer them the right way from the start. Teach them how to be compliant with any standards that you expect them to meet, and help them get there if you can. Especially teach them their role during an incident, like when to call you and when not to touch anything, and what need to know means. I'm a big fan of doing job shadowing, if that's an option. Like, if there's a thing you want them to know, like, offer them to job shadow you. And always hold consultations. So if you're going to do a new policy or standard or guideline, whatever you want to call it, if you're going to write a new doc and expect them to comply with it, you should ask for their advice and opinion and feedback on it before you set it in stone, because they are literally the subject matter experts, and not asking them is ridiculous, but also it makes them feel more engaged, like they matter, because they actually do matter. Okay, so tooling. This is a great one to do job shadowing on, right? If you're going to look through a bunch of static application security testing results for 4 hours on Thursday, invite and see if any of them want to come do it with you for an hour at a time or something, so they can learn about how the tool works. You need to provide or create custom training on tools that you expect them to use. If they're going to be the expert on their team, you better make them the expert. You don't want to set them up to fail. Teach them what the output means, teach them how to validate those results, teach them how to install and configure them. Help them. So like, let's say they want to select a tool. They're like, we want a code review tool, but we want to select it. Cool. Help them do it. Give them your feedback and advice. Give them suggestions. I'm also a big fan of holding a lunch and learn and just teach everyone how to do the thing, or have a hackathon. Like, we're all going to review this code for this whatever, but events really help people. So I want to talk about a teaching style, which I call coaching. I felt the kitty needed a lifesaver. I was trying to like make the kitty seem like really smart, but the lifesaver really helps you know that this kitty is a Jedi. So coaching means enabling individuals or teams to meet their full potential. So how do you coach? You facilitate the exploration, needs, motivation, skills, but basically you want to help them make change, real lasting change. You want to change it so this person's always security aware for the rest of their life. They're always the security dev. One of the people from my original program told me he's in charge of his first AppSec program now. I'm so proud. He was a dev. He became interested, more interested, more interested. And now, like 5 or 6 years later, he's in charge of his own AppSec program. I could not be more proud of the mischief I have caused. If we want them to start practicing a secure system development lifecycle, like we have to support them in actually doing that, right? If we want our security champions to sing the praises of security, we have to constantly reinforce those values with them. So how do we coach? So first of all, we get a kitty and we give it a lifesaver. But after that, we can set up office hours. So every Thursday from 2 to 4, I've just got this open Zoom session. Come on, tell me you're there. Don't be creepy and just watch me work. And then like come ask me questions. I'll just be hanging out doing whatever, answering emails, whatever I'm doing for those 2 hours. I'm here for you. Set up repeat meetings with your champions. That's really important. And don't let them miss more than 1 month. It's really important you check in regularly. Help them prioritize their security activities or bugs. Be available. Help them set goals and then help them achieve those goals and check in with them. Don't forget. Teach them specific tools or skills that they want to know and ask them what they need and then provide. I know that coaching does not sound easy. It's a lot of hard work. But if you do this, you're going to have amazing champions. And that's what you need for a great program. And a really crappy security champions program is often a waste of money. Like you want to do it right, or maybe save your money for something else. Like you want to do a really good job. If you're going to do this, do it right. So special note on delegation. Some items are the AppSec team's responsibility. Like some are our responsibility and some aren't, right? And so you should delegate the following things. So fixing security bugs. Like maybe you happen to be in the code, your hands are already dirty, so you fix something, that's cool. But fixing all the bugs, no, you can't do that. I have to tell myself this all the time. I'm brutal for that. I'm like, well, I'm right here, so I'll just do this. And then like 3 hours later, I'm still like fixing their app and putting my 4th pull request in. And everyone's like, where's Tanya? And I'm late on all my other stuff. That's crap. That is not an effective use if you're the only one on the AppSec team, if you're just sitting there fixing everyone's bugs for them, because there's 400 devs and there's one of you. Updating frameworks. No, I've done that before. Planning releases or upgrades. That's none of your business. Assignment of who works on what bug. None of your business. Implementing or tuning every single tool, running every single scan, writing all the unit tests, etc. Like don't take over the devs' jobs. That's not your job. But on the other hand of that, some things should not be delegated. Validating static application security testing tool results. Unless you have given them training on how to do this and you're sure they're confident, don't expect them to do this. Just like so many companies, they're like, we bought this $200,000 tool. We've scanned your things. You deal with the crap it spit out. Oh, that is how to lose friends. It's not good. If you're going to do SaaS, set them up for success, teach them how to do it, or you validate those results. The security team's approval can never be given except for the security team. Using any tool without some sort of training. Training new champions. So just remember, we're looking for a partnership and assistance. We're not looking for a replacement, right? So there are helpers. They are not our teammates. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so the next thing in the recipe is recognize. So I have recognize and reward. So I'm going to briefly explain why they're different. So recognition is basically making you look cool in front of your peers, having your boss notice you did something. I remember I worked at Microsoft and I went on this big trip to Israel and I worked out a whole bunch of awesome stuff. And then the chief technical officer of Azure wrote a letter to my boss back in North America in the United States. I'm Canadian, as you may be well aware. And they were like, Tanya's a gift. Oh my God, I thought I was going to cry. I felt so good. And my manager was like, holy crap. She basically never talks to us. And like for her to write like a formal letter and go on, like that's a big deal. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't need a raise. That's all I need. It's just praise. But other people, they need to have a physical or financial incentive. Like they need to have a thing. And that's the thing that works for them. And both of these are about making that person feel valued. And for some people, receiving like a physical award is the thing that makes them feel valued, or like, and that could be like a book, a gift certificate, a raise, whatever it is. But for other people, it's having their peers or their boss or whoever know that they did a really good job. And so I am a recognized person, not a reward person, but if you want to give me extra money, just to be clear, that's okay. So let's talk about recognizing your champion. And you have to do both because you don't know which one the people on your team are. So you have to do both to make sure everyone has that feeling that they are valued. Okay, so it's important to recognize your champions because we want them to know they're doing a good job, and we see that, and that we don't want them to feel like they're doing two jobs but only receiving one paycheck. See how this kitty looks squished? We don't want them to feel at all like this kitty. Okay, so how can we recognize people, make them feel good, besides having someone write a letter to their boss, which you should do. But we could create a certificate to put on their wall. I kid you not, it's awesome. Do things to recognize them or center them out in front of their peers. So I've seen people put a special virtual background or a star on their name in Slack or Teams to denote I am a champion. Right? And then it helps their peers know, and it just makes it really obvious in meetings. And people are like, how do I get one of those? I'm like, let me tell you how. Make sure that you put a note in their performance review. It's absolutely essential that when they have their yearly review, that it's in there, that they did this extra work. Tell their boss every time they do something big. So let's say they tell you about a thing that was really, really bad that you would never have found out about. You write a note to their boss and you're like, listen, Brian went the extra mile and did this, this, and this. And I just want you to know, I really appreciate you letting us have time with this awesome employee and just that he's kicking all the butts. You also want to tell them that you saw, because sometimes we forget. I literally this morning, one of my employees was saying sorry about something and how she hadn't spent enough time on it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, let me repeat the thing I clearly don't say enough. Your work makes my life infinitely better. You do this and that's awesome. You do that and that's awesome. You do this and that's awesome. And if you left work 20 minutes early, I assure you, I don't care. Thank you for everything that you do. You're amazing. And clearly I need to tell you this more if you're fretting over that. And she was just like, Murr. But if we forget to tell people how much they matter, sometimes they forget. So make sure their role on their team is clear to their peers. Just make sure that they're aware of how much you appreciate them. Yeah, this guy. We don't need this guy. Okay, so rewarding them. So I've heard this before, and it's true. You want to reinforce good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior. And so if someone does, if you've pointed out someone's made an error 3 times and it's a damaging error that's costing the company money, that's like negligence and you fire their ass. However, if someone makes a mistake this one time, or they're like, oh, I told them that probably this would be the more secure way, but I wasn't sure. And it's like, oh, that there's an even better way than you said. So like, let's go see if we can improve that with them. But like, thank you for trying. And like, clearly you're learning and you're learning more and more every day, and like, good job. And I appreciate you exerting effort. But if someone's doing something good, you want everyone to know how good they are. I started consulting at a place where, I kid you not, the previous consultant had made a name and shame list of devs that had written crappy code, and they put them on the fridge in the kitchen, and apparently some of the devs were so embarrassed they stopped bringing their lunch to work because they felt too embarrassed to go get it out of the fridge. And so we changed it to, here are the rock stars. And I started like coming up with reasons that, these guys got their code out on time, those guys fixed 10 bugs, and whatever I could come up with to like do the opposite of that. And life got a lot better. And just apparently some of the devs were just completely humiliated by this name and shame list. And I have to say, that sounds ridiculously awful. So rewarding good behavior with security related gifts. So this is the most win ever. Like buy them a YubiKey, buy them books, buy them videos, buy them training, give them passes to a CTF, giving them your undivided attention and time. So as an AppSec person, you have less than 0 time. You're always running on negative. You never have enough of all the things you want. And so like when someone comes to your desk, put down your phone, stop typing, turn your chair and look at them. That in itself sends a message of you matter to me, right? Like there's so many things that we can do. So remember that giving them your time is a gift. Help them with more than just security. So again, my friend Ray, so he was an architect for a long time before he did security. And like, I was a dev for a long time. Like you have all sorts of awesome skills. And so if they say, well, we're having this problem, but whatever, don't worry, it's not for you. If you can help, you should help. So for instance, oh yeah, we're going to do this like XAML token thing. And I've never done that before. And it's like, oh, actually, Jen on this other team, she did that like 6 months ago. She has all the code and everything. Why don't I just introduce you to, and then, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You could just ask Jen for help. You making that introduction can be priceless. Someone asked me if I would write a book that was not about AppSec. Why would I write a book not about AppSec? But then I thought of a perfect person that should write that book. And I took extra time to ask the publisher, would you like to meet this person? I asked the other person, and then I just sent the intro and they're like, that person might get to write a book now. But that took like 10 extra minutes of my time. But then that matters so much to, first of all, the publisher, that I would actually find someone else that's qualified to write that book for them. And then the person who might get to publish their first book. Like it's win-win-win, right? Let them see new tools or anything else first. Always ask their advice if it makes sense. Let them help you make decisions. You get the final say, but you should consult this team of awesome humans with lots of experience, corporate knowledge, and all the security knowledge you gave them, plus tons of knowledge you don't have. Anything you can think of to reward them, you should do. I worked somewhere once and my team was way out of date on training. They didn't know any new technologies and I was super frustrated. So I started this lunch and learn program. Attendance was amazing, but there were a couple people, and I have to say they were the crappiest ones. Like their work was like not stellar. And so one of the management said, well, can we give them a reward? And so we made it that if you attended 5 of these sessions, you got Friday afternoon off. And we'd have, 1 or 2 sessions a month. So every few months, a couple people would get to have this one Friday afternoon off, and their peers see them and they don't like high five. And they're like, let's go have a coffee together. And like, you could see, oh, well, it's that special Friday that they get off because they attended all the things. And that became a big peer thing. And then all the people that weren't as good started attending, and they started doing more stuff and being more awesome and more engaged. And anything you can think of that makes them engaged and makes them feel rewarded for their time and effort is good. Okay, so again, this is probably the worst thing, is just companies that start a huge program, they burn out, then they stop having any sort of sessions, they give no support to the champions, and then like a year and a half later, they're like, where did our program go? So don't stop. When in doubt, over communicate. So like, let's say it's December. So December has all sorts of religious holidays, and it has in Canada statutory holidays as well. So even if you're not religious at all, you get days off work, and I like it. But anyway, the point is there's the least amount of people in the office during the last 2 weeks of December. So let's say you're not going to have any sort of activity for your security champions, and you're like planning nothing that month because you feel it's a write-off. Still send an email. Say like, listen, so, December with Ramadan, Hanukkah, Christmas and like whatever else is going on that month, we're not going to have an event because, someone's going to have to miss it. But we're going to be back in January and we're going to do this. I hope you all have a great holiday, no matter what you're up to. And here's a podcast I listened to recently, an episode about this. I thought might help some of you because I know a bunch of you are Java programmers. See you in January. Come and get me if you need help. That little gesture tells them, I'm still here. Don't go. It keeps them engaged. Not huge engagement, but something. Even if none of them respond to the email, I assure you it mattered to some of them. So if you don't communicate regularly, your program will disappear way faster than you think. Way faster. I do lots of different consulting calls. So I'm faculty at a place called IANS Research. Tons of them are about, 2 years ago we had this program and after 6 months we lost steam. How can we pick it back up? It's way easier to not let it slip. So what can we do about that? Consistency. At one place, so we started doing this monthly thing and I ran out of things to talk about. So you know what I did? I went on the OWASP YouTube channel and I found a really, really, really awesome talk that I really wanted them to see. And then I bought donuts. I told them I had donut. I have carbs and sugar. And then I invited them and I'm like, this talk's really good. And I was hoping we could just all watch it today because none of us have a thing to present to you. Lots of people still came. And I don't think it was just the carbs. So even if you just meet with them one-on-one per month to check in with them or just a call or an email, some champions will need more of your time. Some of them will need less. Some of them will do the bare minimum no matter what you do. They'll just be okay. And that's way better than nothing. But some of them are going to be amazing. And this is sort of a thing you have to accept. If you accidentally drop your schedule, that's okay. Pick it back up. Just send an email out and be like, so I know we haven't had anything in 2 months, but next month I'm planning something. If anyone has suggestions, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. The point is that culture is a practice and it must be repeated over and over and over again. And when you stop repeating it, it falls apart faster than you think. So this was our recipe and we're completely awesome because now we're going to build security champion we're going to build security champions. We're going to build them up into champions. And so conclusion, we learned how to attract the right people to your program, what we should teach them, how to reach them, how to engage them and turn them into advocates, what to delegate and what not to delegate. I should put to, not do, how to motivate them, and basically how to build an amazing program. And so, like I said, this is our recipe with don't stop being the most important part. And now I have a couple resources for you. I was going to say free resources, but I do talk about some books and they're not free, but everything else is free. Okay, so resources. So one of the resources is I have an online community that's free. It's kind of, imagine if there was Facebook, but there was like no spying and no bullying and no mean people. And we just all talked about security. It's that. And so community.wehackpurple.com, it's free. We have a code of conduct and you have to follow it, but everything else is cool. And if you want to give a presentation, if you wrote an article, if you listened to something and it was cool, if you have a question about work, I literally ask questions all the time of them because sometimes they know and I don't. Awesome books. I believe you can't do security right unless you are doing IT right. And I believe DevOps is the way for making awesome software. I love DevOps so much. And so a bunch of these books are about DevOps and modernizing the way we build software. And the last one is by me. And me and my mom both think it's the best book about application security out there. I have a podcast. We're going to do season 2 soon, and it's going to be basically like tons of tips. Season 1 was about how to get into various jobs within security and what it's like to do those jobs. Resources, me. I have a blog on my professional company site. I'm also going to eventually have a personal purple blog. Alice and Bob Learn. If you want to come to some of our live streams, Saturday, we're having a free live stream where we go over chapter 9. I have a newsletter, etc. I'm a nerd on the internet. Like I said earlier, I hope all of you get to spend your life doing strange things with weird people, because I think that's the best type of life a person could have. And I want to thank you all so much for staying the end of this amazing event. I want to thank all of the organizers for all their hard work. I want to thank you for showing up and learning, and especially thank you for choosing me as the closing keynote. It's such an honor to speak at a Canadian conference, and I just want to say thank you. Okay, so I'm going to minimize my slides, and we have time for Q&A. So who has some questions? I think that they would go into, oh, there's so many questions. All right. Oh, thank you. Let's see if there's questions, because there's like so much in the chat. Don't overcommit or you will hurt yourself in the process. Adam, you're so right. And then AJ says, that's a good idea. This isn't our material, but we heavily endorse it. Let's watch together and our champs can answer the follow-up questions. Yeah, exactly. Record management folks at a place I was at rolled out record management champions. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, you can have all sorts of champions. And really, if you're going to make a huge security champions program, you could also have privacy champions, because quite frankly, I really think privacy is important. As a person who just had a company put her home address on the internet. Oh, anyway, thank you so much. Are there any questions? Because there's so many comments. I didn't even realize that they were happening because all I could see were my slides. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Again, thank you to the organizers. I don't know if any of you have ever organized a conference, but I have, and it's hard. It is so hard. It's like hundreds of hours and you're like, oh, I'm going to just spend this much time. Oh, there's a question. Do you see a budget commitment to security champion program, or is it kind of off the shelf program in your experience? So I would say a whole bunch of security champions programs, at first we have no budget, and then eventually people like it better and they see some results, and then they'll say, well, I'll give you $1,000 for like rewards for the champions. And I'm like, but often this might sound ridiculous, but I'll like bake cookies and stuff because I kind of like doing that. And I know other women get really annoyed because they're like, then they're going to expect me to bake cookies. And I'm sorry, I'm that person in the office. I'm annoying and I know it. But I remember baking 150 cookies so every single dev could have one. But it works. Someone says, you should have a P.O. box for your business. Yes, I do have a P.O. box, but some jerk face decided that instead they would put my home address, which I want. Yeah, so I might be suing someone. But anyway, yeah. Cookies are good. I also made some gluten-free cookies just so like I could cover all my bases, and also because I'm gluten-free, and then there were leftovers and I got to eat them. So if you're new to an organization, how do you find the teams that you want to participate in programs like Security Champions? So if you want to be a security champion, I usually so when I was a dev and I was really excited about security, I literally just went over, I'm like, hi, I'm Tanya. I'm one of the dev leads. And like, I think security is really cool. And they were like, you're an alien. But guess what? Within 1 year, I was on their team. I kept reporting security incidents to them. I kept telling them about things I did. And I was like, yeah, I'm in this mentorship program and blah, blah, blah. And they were just like, God, she's so annoying. But I grew on them like mold. And then eventually one of them came up to me and he's like, so we have a position open on our team. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, I didn't even offer it to you yet. So I'm like, you came to my desk. I know it's me. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, awareness versus champions, where's the line in your mind? So champions means that there's like a person on each team that is the security person and they actually have responsibilities. Well, with awareness, so I have this long-time client and I do like a couple hours a week with them. And so once a month, I often do a presentation And that has helped change their culture and made them more aware, but they don't have a security champions program. And it's resulted in better code. It has resulted with way more people coming to the AppSec team rather than going to Stack Overflow, which I have opinions about. Stack Overflow is awesome, but I wish that I wish there was more secure options on there. So I would say the line is whether you expect them to have responsibilities or not for the security team. Picking cookies, storing cookies. There's a web dev joke in there somewhere. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was so excited. I remember when I was on the security team at one point, like I guess I'd done something really good that impressed the boss, and he came up and he had taken tinfoil and made a tinfoil hat out of it and wrote, "Don't worry, I'm here now." He's like, "You're officially part of the team. You have this tinfoil hat. Don't worry, I'm here now." It was hilarious. Oh, you can, yeah, wait. That is the book I wrote. Yeah. Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. Yeah, I'm hoping to write another book, but not yet because I'm busy. Thank you so much for having me. So if there aren't any more questions, I want to invite the organizers to come on and like wrap up the conference and say goodbye and say all their awesome stuff. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate so much the chance to present. It's just there's not very many Canadian conferences, so it's just like really wonderful that I could go to one. What's the camera setup? The quality's hella clear. I have a 4K camera. It's a Lumix. Yeah. And then I have a shotgun mic overhead with one of those muffs on it, and it's plugged directly into the Lumix. And the Lumix is actually a regular camera, not a webcam. And then we have it going into another system that turns it into a webcam. So it's like a camera, not a video camera, but we managed to change it into a feed. And this was from when I first started my company. But now when we shoot real training videos, we have an 8K Blackmagic, and it's Hi.
Thank you, Tanya, so much here. We really, really appreciate your closing keynote here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, we're getting right close to the end. Everybody, thank you for being with us this far. We still got a few fun things that we would like to talk about. So just be with us for the next few minutes, and we'll close it up pretty quickly here. First thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to just, as BSides, we're a community foundation. We work with a lot of organizations, and we also want to give back. So with a couple things here was that we wanted to just announce that we're giving back to a couple organizations here, both to Chic Geek, which is a community organization here, as well as the Calgary Drop-In Center, specifically around their IT program. We just want to say thank you for what they do in the community and want to support them as well as from our foundation as well. So thank you very much. And we just want to be able to give this forward to you as to be able to use in your programs. All right, well, that's just closing up for us. Everyone that stayed for the whole time here, we want to say a huge thank you. I want to just reach out and say thank yous to all the attendees for being through this the whole time. 2 years of being remote. We know it's hard to be remote. Thank you for sticking with us, being part of the community. Thank you to our sponsors for helping, fund this so we could put this on. If it was, within any of these groups, we would not be here. Huge thank you to our volunteers here that have put this on tirelessly. They've given of their time, their effort here over not just the last couple days here, but over the time leading up to the event as well. Couple other things. If you're looking at in the next couple of weeks, we're hoping to get the videos out on YouTube, so that'll be out for the whole community to consume. We'll look for that on our Twitter or on LinkedIn from us. Other than that, thank you so much for attending. We're looking forward to doing this again sometime in the future. So, if you want to see us, make sure you just bump it up and bring the community together on the socials there. Thank you so much.